Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how I do my base. I have really dry skin and I really like for my makeup to last a long time. So this is my long lasting but still hydrating and dewy technique. So if you're interested, then please keep on watching. Let me zoom you guys in and we'll jump into it. Okay. First step is going to be primer, and today I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Puff Puff Primer. This is an awesome just kind of hydrating primer that it's not super sticky. It really just feels like a moisturizer, but it does a really good job at prepping the skin and just making sure that it's ready for makeup. Let me just blend this in. And then next, I like to take the NYX Hydra Touch Oil, and I actually just take a single drop of it and put it onto my fingers and put it underneath my eyes. I just like to blend it really well, but gently, underneath my eyes. Once that's all soaked in, I like to take a concealer that is closer to my skin tone, and I just like to put it onto my spots, make sure that everything's covered. A little dot right there. I like to go in the crevice of my nose as well because I do get a lot of redness right there. A little one on my forehead as well. I like to just blend this in with my finger. It doesn't need to be blended in really well. You're going to cover it up with foundation anyway. My next step is the Becca Under Eye Brightening Corrector. I use just a little teeny tiny bit of this. So I like to just concentrate it right here and then right on my outer corner, and then I will usually just take the brush and swipe like that. Up next is foundation, and I'm actually going to be using my favorite combination today, the L'Oreal Fresh Wear foundation and then the Anastasia Beverly Hills Luminous foundation. I just take this, only pumps out a tiny little bit with each pump, so I do about 2 pumps of this, 1 pump of this, mix it all together, and it's the perfect amount. Up next is concealer, and I'm actually going to be mixing 2 today, the Milani Conceal and Perfect Concealer and the e.l.f. 16-Hour Hydrating Camo Concealer. The Camo Concealer is just a little too bright for me on its own with this combo. And then for the e.l.f. Concealer, I take just the littlest dot right in the inner corners, no more than that. Next up is going to be the introduction for you guys to see how many sprays I actually use in my whole process. It's a little bit ridiculous. I'm kind of looking to pare it down just a little bit. Not all of them are necessary, but I have all of them, so I'm trying to use them and not waste them. Usually in this step right here, I only use 1 spray, and that is the NYX Bear With Me spray, the older one, not the newer one. This is the one without the cannabis sativa oil in it. I am actually going to use this one in conjunction with the Makeup Revolution Priming Water. I just like to add this extra layer of hydration onto my skin before powder. I feel like it just kind of helps melt down the liquids, and it just really makes the skin look beautiful. So let's start with the NYX powder. The great thing about both of these sprays is that neither of them have oil in them, so you don't have to worry about spraying them onto your face when you already have eyeshadow on. For loose powder today, I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Fit Me Loose Powders in Fair and Fair Light. I use fair underneath my eyes, fair light all over the rest of my face. I know this may seem intimidating to people that have dry skin. I have a lot of other steps later in my routine that get rid of all of the powderiness, but just using a loose powder all over your face really locks it in and makes sure that it stays put. So I'm not going to use a lot. Looks like a lot on camera, but it's not a lot. I literally just barely dipped it in. And then we're going to go underneath the eyes, making sure that we're looking up. And we're going to kind of take it down just a little bit. And then after that, we'll take the Fair Light shade. I like to use the flat side of the sponge for this. I just dip it in. I don't get a lot, just like that. And then I just press it all over the skin. I'm not baking. I'm literally just taking the powder and I'm pressing it in and I'm dispersing it all over my face. So once you're done with that step, you may notice a little bit of excess powder, like loose powder on your face. I like to just take a big fluffy brush like this, super loose, and then just take and swirl it over, making sure I am sweeping off any of that excess powder. Even take it underneath the eyes. After that is probably something that a lot of people are going to consider to be overkill, but I actually like to take a pressed powder. This is the number 7 Lift and Illuminate powder. The reason why I started doing this is because I was noticing, not so much with the Maybelline powders, but with translucent powders, that they would wash out my skin. So I like to take a pressed powder and just quickly put that on my skin and just kind of bring that skin tone shade back to life. I'm just going to quickly speed you guys through doing my contour and my bronzer, and then I'll come back with the next step. Okay, next up, gonna go back in with the fair shade of the Fit Me powder and my sponge. I'm just going to clean up my contour while I explain a few things to you guys. You may have noticed that I actually used 2 different sponges, a different sponge between my powder and my, went a little bit high there, oops, and my cream products. I like to keep them separate. I dip my sponges into my powder so much that I don't want to get foundation or concealer into them. And also, you may have noticed that I did go a little heavier on my bronzer than probably a lot of people like. The reason for that is actually a later step that involves a 3rd sponge, and it actually picks up quite a bit of the excess product. So it ends up smoothing it out and kind of lightening it up a little bit. So if it looks a little bit harsh right now, just be patient, it'll all come together. While my bake is baking, I'm gonna go ahead and finish up my lower lash line and I'll be right back. Okay, so we're just gonna take a little brush and just brush this off. Once again, it may look a little heavy right now. Once we go in with some more sprays, it'll look really good. And then I'm just going to speed you guys through my blush. I'm going to use the e.l.f. Primer Infused Blush in the shades Always Cheeky and Always Rosy. I'm just going to kind of mix them together. Okay, after blush is a fun little trick that I like to do. I actually like to take this Tarte Double Duty contour palette, and I like to go in with this, I guess it's technically a highlight shade, but it's really, really, really subtle. You can barely see it. It's just, it's that perfect like see-through sheen. I really recommend this tip for people who are oily but really want to look dewy but not be oily. So you could technically do all of these steps and you're powdered down and you're locked in, and then do this next step, spray it with setting spray and be done, and not add the oils at the end that would make you oily. So I like to just take like a little old blending brush, and then I will actually run that down the bridge of my nose and on the tip of my nose. I don't like to put crazy highlight on my nose. I like it to look a little shiny, but like naturally dewy. And then I take a fluffier brush. This is the Real Techniques blush brush. Actually, it's a very big blush brush, and I will just swirl it in there a bunch and then actually just dust it over my forehead. This also kind of helps to lessen the amount of bronzer visible on the forehead. I'll actually just kind of take that all over. I love it on my chin. It's subtle, but it's there. Sometimes after highlight, I like to go back with the Real Techniques blush brush with nothing else on it and just run it over where I put my highlight on my forehead, just to kind of make sure that everything is really blended and seamless and not too like concentrated in this area right here. The next step is really the step that takes it from being a powdery look to a more skin-like finish, and that is going to be using sprays like the L'Oreal Shake and Glow Lumi spray. I already shook it, so you can't really tell in here, but this spray has oil in it, and so you shake it together, you mix it all up. The other one that I love to use, I'm actually going to insert a picture right here because I got rid of the bottle because I didn't like the sprayer, is the ColourPop Pretty Fresh spray. Both of those sprays are beautiful. I actually use them both, and I'm going to be using them both today. So the way that I like to use them is to, once again, shake it up really well, and I will take a third sponge, like this flat one right here, and I will take the spray. Let me not spray this at the camera. I'll take the spray and I will one spray onto the flat edge of the sponge, and then I will just press it into my skin. Pretty sure I can do this without a mirror. And then once I've done that section, I will go in, spray again, and do it to the other side. And the next up is the ColourPop Pretty Fresh spray. And with this one, I'm actually just going to take another little tiny spray and go right underneath the eyes. Now we are looking a little bit more dewy. My skin doesn't feel as tight from all of the powder. It just looks more lifelike. If you feel like at this point maybe you used a little bit too much spray, if you feel like this area right here, that'll happen to me every once in a while, it'll get a little bit too dewy. You can go back in with like a pressed powder or even the teeniest, tiniest little bit of loose powder and just press it into the skin right there. Just make sure that your face is completely dry before you do that, but it'll totally kind of tone it down. Okay, And usually while that is, my face isn't super wet, but usually while that is completely drying down, I will do kind of my under eyeliner, fix up my wings, put on some mascara. Just make sure to not touch your face a lot while you're doing those steps. But I personally like to wait to do mascara and eyeliner until after those steps because it does have oil in them. So usually while I am doing my liner and my brows and my lashes, I like to switch off between each step and spray another spray on because I am extra and I use way too many sprays. So now that I have fixed my wing liner and put on a little bit of liner on my waterline, I'm going to go in with the next spray. This one is actually new to me. This is the NYX Bear With Me spray that has the cannabis sativa seed oil. I'm just going to spray that. It's not like an oily spray by any means. I don't see any oil in it at all. I'm just going to spray this on and then I'm going to put on my brows. Next up is the Flower Beauty Seal the Deal Hydrating Setting Spray. This is just a great spray just to bring, again, some more hydration back into the skin. Also, the mist on this bottle is absolute perfection. After that, I am going to spray on the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. I think I feel the same way about this as I do the Flower Beauty spray. I love them for their sprays. I don't know how much they actually do to my skin, but I love the way that they apply, and so I just keep going back for more and more. So while that is drying, let me just toss on my lashes. Okay, now that I have my lashes on and lip on, it's time for the final step, and that is the Milani Make It Last Setting Spray. This is just, it's exactly what it says it is. It is your Urban Decay All-Nighter, your long-lasting setting spray. This is what's going to help keep everything on and also just kind of further melt down your powders. So let me zoom you guys in so you can see a little bit closer up kind of what everything looks like. See, my face feels completely dry. There is no like tackiness from the oil sprays. There's no, you know, it feels powdered down, but it doesn't look powdered down, and that's the whole point of this. One thing that I will say is that when it comes to sprays like the L'Oreal Shake and Glow, like the ColourPop Pretty Fresh spray, the dewy sprays that have oil in them, I recommend using a sponge with those, because if you spray them on and you already have your eyeshadow on, it can cause your eyeshadow to crease, especially like me. This eye is more hooded than this eye, so this eye tends to crease a little bit easier if I spray like an oil spray on. I also have just found that spraying it directly onto the face doesn't pick up that excess powder. It doesn't help blend in the bronzer and the blush and everything like that. So that is going to do it for me, guys. I will leave all of the products that I used linked down below. I will have all of my social media linked down below as well. It would mean the world to me if you guys subscribed, like this video if you liked it, ring the bell if you do subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in my next video. Bye!